It's a new voice. Okay, good evening all. Welcome to the City of Boardman Parks Master Plan PAC meeting number 5. Appreciate everyone being here this evening. We've got really 2 tasks to address tonight. So we'll do a quick welcome and introductions around, just so that everybody knows. It's been a while, I think, since Bonnie has joined one of these meetings. And then Jessel, I'll let you take over and do the overview of the meeting goals and agenda and the status, and then we'll keep moving through there. So here in the room, again, sorry, our camera's not working, but I'm going to point to the end of the table this way. And
hello, I'm Taylor Whiteman.
George Scheimer, Boardman Park and Rec District.
I call him George Shiner. He's kind of Carla McLean.
Brandon Hammond, City Manager.
Stephanie Case, Principal Planner.
Okay, and then those joining remotely, I've got Norma. You're muted.
Oh, did you want me? Yeah, this is Norma, former Boardman Parks and Rec board member, now joining as just a community member.
Okay. Ethan.
Ethan Slaughter, City Council.
And you must be at work.
I'm at work and I'm on school, so kind of busy.
Okay, all right. Bonnie.
Thanks, Carla. I'm Bonnie Giosic. I supported the master plan as a sub to Shapiro Didway and did the operations assessment and the market assessment.
Thank you. And Jessel, I'll let you introduce yourself and take it away.
All right, Giselle Champeau with Shapiro Didway, the lead consultant on a project. Just one question, can you give me sharing permission? So I can share my screen.
Absolutely.
And then who was the first person that introduced themselves in the room with you? I didn't hear them.
Taylor Whiteman, community member.
Yeah, but you seeing
Okay.
the share option? I don't know. I'm seeing the share option.
It's saying you're not giving me sharing right. Yeah.
There it is. Okay. Hopefully you have the ability now.
Yeah, let's see. I do. Perfect. Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. There's 2 primary focuses for today. I'm going to move you guys over here so I can see you. Okay. I'll go quickly through the agenda. We've already done our welcomes and hellos to everybody. The goals of tonight's meeting is to first revisit the park naming discussion that we had last meeting. Just to give you an update on that, has gone before City Council and has been sent back for some further review by PAC. So that'll be first on our agenda tonight. And then we want to dive into some of the Park Master Plan draft comments that you have. And I do have a list of questions that I'm looking for your input on. So I'll give you an opportunity first, if you've got any specific comments, to share those, and then we'll dive into kind of an overview of the plan, what each chapter contains, and then some very targeted input that I'm looking from you for the PAC to move forward. So, and then as far as project update or status, I'm hoping this is our last PAC meeting, and that this draft will be submitted hopefully to the Planning Commission. We're looking at submitting it mid-October, and then it'll come to the council, hopefully by end of year, having adopted Park Master Plan. So that's the hope. So as we discussed, the first part of the meeting will be dedicated to park naming, the second to the draft master plan, and then kind of a wrap-up discussion. Can everybody see my screen okay? I'm not doing full screen. Is that okay for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so just a recap on park naming. So last time we met, we were selecting names that would go before City Council for review and adoption. In some instances, we provided, or the PAC provided, one recommendation, and others they provided multiple recommendations. So you had weighed in on that. And these are the parks that were considered: City Hall Park, Hillview Park, Park Blocks, and then 3 or 4 River Ridge subdivision parks. So they've advanced to City Council. And then in October, well, I guess October, beginning October, they asked to come back to you for a couple reasons. And attached to your invite to this meeting was a memorandum that Carla has prepared to send out to City Council following this discussion. So the outcomes of that meeting was that Tatone Park was approved for City Hall Park. Hillview Park was approved for the Hillview Parks or the sports complex, minus the sports complex component of that. But the park in question is the park blocks. So Heritage Park was the only name that was advanced for the park blocks, and that was eliminated by City Council. So we'd like to revisit what are some alternative names that can be, we should discuss to advance back to City Council so that they can approve the name. So we've selected here 2 alternatives based on input that we heard from the last meeting, Bladen Park and Parque Cultural. That is not the only alternative, but those are 2 that we discussed internally and we want to present to the PAC. So we wanted to just start a little bit on that discussion on what names should be considered. And additionally, in River Ridge Park, we selected 4, the PAC selected 4 names. There's likely only going to be 3 parks. So maybe one of those names could be harvested. That's why you see Bladen Park, for example, over here in the recommendation. So maybe one of those names could be used in the park blocks instead. So just to refresh your memory on, these are the alternatives that were presented. Oops, I'm going to try to blow this up a little bit so everybody can see it. These are what the community provided as alternatives for the park blocks, and anything with a red line through it. Uh-oh, okay, let's see. Is that better? No.
Almost readable.
Still not readable? How's that?
There we go. That's a little better. Can everybody else read it?
Okay. Okay. So anything with a red line through it was either dismissed by the PAC, either because it was too similar to other names or it didn't follow the park rules. And so highlighted in yellow are the names that kind of were left over. Bladen Park, Parque de Todos, Parque Puente Cultural, and I'm really sorry if I'm mangling the pronunciation, Parque de los Niños. And then over here, these were submitted by community members for the park blocks, specifically Ryan Neal Memorial Park, Watfield Park, Bladen Park, Power Trail Park, Columbia Park, Walk the Line Park. So I wanted to get the PAC's input on these alternatives. Let me see if I can get them both together. And in addition, Parque Cultural here was what the PAC modified the Park Puente Cultural to, was Parque Cultural. And this Heritage Park was eliminated by the council. So let's open it up for discussion. Anybody have any thoughts on, I think that gets them all in the same window. On this.
So I just want to clarify a couple of things. It's not that the city council didn't actually approve anything. There just was no comment, there was no specific commentary on Tatone Park or on the River Ridge Parks. There seemed to be, I will say there was consensus around those. There wasn't any commentary that would lead me to believe that they won't move forward. What was put forward was Hillview was Hillview Park and Sports Complex. They like the Hillview Park, just not ready yet to make the commitment to the sports complex. So I think we get to success with Hillview Park. I think we get to success with Tatone Park. And again, I think we get to success with the River Ridge Parks, but the Heritage Park blocks, we knew first that blocks wasn't going to work. But when they discussed the Heritage Park, the concern was the confusion with the Heritage Trail. So we either need to figure out if we can help them not be concerned about that, or put forward an alternative. So again, Giselle's right, internally, to kind of keep in that heritage theme, we thought, well, maybe we take the Bladen Park out of the River Ridge, because we probably only need 3 names for River Ridge, and use that. And then the alternative being, again, another one that last time we talked about this, there was a lot of support around, was the, and again, I won't pronounce it right either, the Parque Cultural. So, not that there couldn't be other options that we could talk about to put forward, but, yeah. Norma's got her hand up.
Yeah, me,
Yeah,
go ahead,
so
Norma.
my memory is a little bit different. If you go back to the other screen that has the Hillview Park. Yeah. So I don't remember them, like you said, they didn't say specifically yes, but I do remember the Ryan Neal was totally out, but I feel like the Parque Cultural, since it's going to be kind of a sports complex, I don't think that was out of the picture. I don't feel like Hillview Park was picked over, but I know the Ryan Neal, they definitely, that one was out of the picture. So I do remember Christina mentioning something that if we do name it the Parque Cultural, we have options to do like different murals for the different sports that are going to be at that park. From what I remember.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then we should be discussing Hillview and Park Block. Carla, is that correct?
Well, on the River Ridge, they wanted to do a hierarchy of 3, 1, 2, or 3. Like out of those 4, what would be the top 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, I would say, my recollection of the city council decision, I think that there was no real concern, and Ethan's on the call, he can certainly join in, he was on the dais. I don't think there was a concern with, Hillview Park. I think the concern was adding the and sports complex.
I wasn't at the meeting when they discussed this.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry, you're right, Ethan, my apologies.
So I guess if we just start with the hierarchy of the 3, is there one that like stands out as everybody's least favorite out of those? That's probably the easier way to go out of the 4.
True.
I don't really care for Bladen Park.
I think it makes sense to follow a theme for those parks that are close to each other. And that fits the theme of the neighborhood where all the streets are named after like birds.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of makes sense to have all the parks in that theme, in my opinion, for such a close proximity. Unless I'm
I agree with
off
that.
base here.
Yeah, and I think 2 out of the 4 clearly do that. Meadowlark Park and the Pajaro Azul Park is Bluebird Park. Am I remembering that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I will say
So we could say those
that-
are 1 and 2?
Yeah. I would say that when we had the neighborhood meeting at one of the River Ridge parks, and I don't remember who all was there. There's a number of people in the neighborhood. There was a desire to make sure that one of the parks in River Ridge had had features that would accommodate kids, and in particular, smaller kids. And so I think that and again, I'm bad with the translations, but the Parque Los Niños kind of reflects that as well. Particularly if we put that name on the park, that gets kind of those features associated with it.
Yeah, I do remember that conversation with the at that park, and they did want it associated with like more toddler.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, I
And did they
think
want it
those 3
associated
kind
with a
of,
location, Carla, or did they want just a hierarchy?
Just
just a hierarchy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do we want to make
I
a
don't know if that would be
recommendation
like-
for location? Or, because I know the one, I think it's River Ridge Park 1 will be the play. Or does it not necessarily matter?
I feel like the one that's right on River Ridge should probably, if there was a choice, Parque Los Niños, and then the other ones could be like off to the side, like Pájaro Azul and Meadowlark Park could be the other two.
Yeah. Just to kind of, it might be interesting to do the Parque Los Niños, which would be River Ridge 1. And then maybe Meadowlark Park would be River Ridge 3. And then reserve Pájaro Azul Park for River Ridge, excuse me, Meadowlark Park would be River Ridge 2. And then Pájaro Azul Park would be River Ridge 3. And for those of you that aren't comfortable with the neighborhood, what we're saying is that River Ridge 1 is when you're going down River Ridge from north to south. That's the park that's on it's on the west side. And then Meadowlark Park, you literally turn right there. And I'm not sure that name of that street, but it would be so it's the other park that is
I think it's
already developed.
Goldfinch. Yeah, I think it's on
I
Goldfinch.
think you're right. Yeah. And then we would reserve Pájaro Azul Park for the one that'll be further south.
Is everybody in agreement with that approach for those three?
I am.
I'm looking for hands. I
Cool.
don't see any. Carla, I'm gonna rely on you to see people in the room.
Yeah,
if they have any
we're
strong
getting some
objections.
slight
Okay.
head nods here in the room. I mean, I think we're all, yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. And nobody's screaming,
Okay.
no, absolutely not.
Okay, sounds good.
No, and it,
Go ahead, Brandon, sorry.
I was gonna say, and I could go either way. I mean, Taylor lives over there. Hillview Park or the Parque Cultural, and I can also see the whole BPA being Parque Cultural too.
It's my fault for not submitting it, but I think it's a shame that we don't have a sunset park. That's beautiful sunset right on the river there, up from that.
Oh.
It is at Hillview Park. I don't disagree. Hillview Park is, yeah, from out there, the sunsets would be
I
stunning.
should have submitted that.
There you go, change it, set Sunset Park. I really, I don't think the council really,
No, I
they
think,
just didn't like blocks.
I think last meeting, they were like, if it wasn't submitted, then we're not counting it.
Yeah, I mean, we did ask for community submissions, so.
Like,
I heard from another person who likes Sunset Park too, but they also acknowledged that they hadn't submitted it, so. Again, I think Hillview Park survives if we want to stick with that. That is the name of the subdivision, but, again, looking at the park blocks, I mean, if we change Hillview Park, what would we change it to? I do like the whole Parque Cultural for the entire park blocks. I mean, I kind of like that one.
so I think that we leave the two, Hillview Park and Parque Cultural. Cause if they haven't decided, then I think that they choose between those two.
And if they choose Parque Cultural for that, then they are left with our recommendation of Bladen Park for the park blocks unless we push something else forward.
I Brandon's idea of that for the park blocks instead of, so I like that Parque Cultural for those for the BPA.
So I don't like Parque Cultural for BPA because there's nothing you can put under it. So I don't know how it fits.
Yeah. I didn't think about that.
That's
So
true.
the
I mean, we are
intent-
limited to
Well-
what we can build under it. We can build things adjacent to it.
You can do signs.
Yeah.
You can do stuff, you can do street signs on it, that'd be allowable. Like you could do cultural signs,
How?
just right off the path, like a path, walking path, you could do the whatever.
The interpretive signs.
Yeah,
Interactive.
I don't think there's anything, the only thing that the BPA gets real sticky about is if it's like over 6 feet tall or I mean, there'd be a couple things, but no, I mean, they're gonna allow us to do, benches, they're gonna allow us to do other things. So I think.
So maybe interpretive signs that were no more than 3.5, 4 feet tall.
I think you could do it along the whole thing.
And we're gonna do a walking path through the whole thing.
Yep.
So we could do interpretive. So we could interpret our history, we could interpret
All sort, yep,
our culture. And that is certainly something that the county will have some level of interpretive plan for the heritage trail.
correct.
And so we could add to that. We could also do benches and interpretive signs along the sidewalk as well as the trail.
No, and again, I mean, and my hope is that the county's gonna go pay for that. To like.
So
they didn't-
what were the original ones that came out for the park blocks again?
Yeah, let's look at
You
it.
had them on the next
Here.
slide.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So let me. So the ones on the left were just apply to any park. It didn't matter to the submissions. And then the ones over here on the right apply to the park blocks specifically.
blocks, yeah.
So
With-
Ryan Neal Memorial Park got
With their-
kind of eliminated because of because of Ryan Neal. Because we weren't supposed to no, I guess it was anybody living, but again, there was quite a bit of controversy when we talked about Ryan Neal at the last PAC meeting.
Mhm.
Watts Field, I like that because it's the Watts above you, Bladen Park, that's kind of where that came from. Power Trail Park,
I
Columbia
like
Park.
that one.
That's concerning for me because there's a really big park in the Tri-Cities that's Columbia Park. And then Walk the Line Park. The story for that one is nice. It's interesting. It's history.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
I know that the Ryan Neal was the issue, but what about one of the parks, you know, one side of the main street being Memorial Park, the other being Cultural Park.
Oh, so you're thinking like everything on the west side could be,
Parque Cultural,
okay, and then the stuff
east side.
could be Memorial Park,
Memorial Park.
everything under those park blocks. So basically name the west side something and the east side something.
It's not a bad idea, you know.
Well, and the Heritage Trail will be,
The Heritage Trail.
well, and it'll be on the west side. Based on the current alignment proposal, whatever goes on the east side will be what the city does relative to
Correct.
our own trail system.
So I couldn't really
And
hear
for
what
folks in
you said.
town, that they're probably not gonna look at it as all one anyways, because it's divided by Main Street.
Mhm.
Hey guys,
Yeah, the only
which one is-
street,
I couldn't hear what was being said about the west side or the east side, or I don't know what you
The
guys.
name
The
each
thought
side
was-
separately.
Two names for the corridor, one for east, one for west.
yeah, and the thinking was that Main is I think Main Street is the only road that is gonna separate anything in the park blocks. Well, no, Olson will.
So the
Well,
Alright.
no, that's first. That's
First,
first and
yeah.
first. So yeah, there's a couple of streets that actually break up the park
There
blocks,
is.
but Main is certainly an east
Yeah,
and
there is.
west divider, so. Yeah,
It seems like maybe a lot of time was spent on that name topic in general, last PAC meeting, and maybe it was for good reason. I mean, not to like upset anybody, but maybe it's a little excessive at this point too. Maybe we can move on from like naming things after people for a bit.
yeah, I think that was some of the concern with using Ryan Neal. I mean,
Yeah,
there's already a Neal Learning Center, there's already,
very excessive, yeah.
right, that
So-
was kind of the conversation.
I like the Power Trail Park for the park blocks. I like that one. Again, I'm not into the Bladen Park, Walk the Line Park. I don't know. I feel like that's too long.
Way too long.
Yeah.
Norma, how do you feel about, the, park blocks being called the Parque Cultural?
Yeah, that's what I was agreeing with Brandon earlier, but then Stephanie, I think that was Stephanie that said that what are we gonna put there that's cultural that can go with that name. But you guys just said that there's a lot of things you guys can add to it. So yeah, the Parque Cultural does sound. Yeah, I'm okay with the Power Trail or Parque Cultural.
What about a memorial park name? Just Memorial Park.
I don't know. I don't like it just because it's like who's memorial?
Now, if you do a memorial, then are you gonna have a memorial there? I mean, are you gonna do like
Yeah.
some kind of, that's usually the connection, right? Isn't it a?
Yeah. I would think I mean, we kind of have, it's not truly a memorial park, but the veterans installation down at the port offices, to
Yeah.
me, kind of feels
Mhm.
like, I mean, I don't think that area is named, but for me, I think of that as our veterans park. It doesn't have that name, but that's what I think of there. And the tugboat is there. So it's kind of where our history and recognition is happening in the community.
I kind of like Power
Mhm.
Trail Park because it's under power lines and there's a walking path and I feel like you can power walk.
Yeah,
And
that's
it'll be
what I
very
was
clear to
thinking.
people in town. Power Park is under the power line.
Right.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
In some ways, it really does.
Yeah, so maybe what if we do toss the idea of saying one side could be one and the other side could be the other, and then, you know, if they went with Parque Cultural, then they could focus on doing some interpretive panels that way.
Mm.
I like it. That's good.
So for the park blocks, we're gonna
So-
give them.
Yep.
What was that? Power Trail Park.
Do they both tie into the Heritage Trail for Moore County? Which one?
The west
The
side,
west side.
the west side.
So that makes sense to be linked up with
Parque.
Parque Trail.
Yeah. Cause then maybe it becomes a spur and it's just yeah, I like it.
that. I like that. That makes sense to me.
Okay, so that's what we're recommending. And what are we doing with Hillview Park? Are we gonna leave the two to choose from, or are we gonna narrow it down to Hillview Park?
I think, yeah, Sunset. And I'll bring that up because I can.
I
I
say
like Sunset too.
choice of the two. I mean, I don't mind Hillview. Hillview's I mean, it's already named that, so. But yeah,
Now that you have
And-
said sunset and the sun is setting, I mean, it really is something with that.
I see it every night out my window.
Yeah.
you should have put it in.
I should have put it in, but I know somebody over here that can say it. I know a guy.
Must be nice to know.
So let's, so sunset's not really an option, correct? Because it
No,
was
it
not
is.
submitted. It is,
Brandon wants to make
Okay.
it an option.
Sounds like it could be an option.
okay. Okay. Does everybody
Very
agree on the
good.
PAC that even though it wasn't publicly submitted, that this should be brought forward as an option? So either Hillview Park or Sunset Park?
Yes, we know a guy.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, Ethan.
And we're
There's two guys
eliminating,
right here, top ten. Go for it.
Yeah.
Ethan and Brandon.
Like
so
I said, I
Hillview
wasn't
Park or
there last
Sunset
meeting.
Park? I mean, you can be transparent with the board,
I mean,
and let them know.
I still would not want to take the Parque Cultural off of there.
Well, you
Okay.
can't have two Parque Culturales. We're gonna name it on the,
Well,
That's
unless
part of the-
unless we pick right now that under the BPA, we're gonna name it Parque Cultural. Because
well,
they
we're
have to
Yeah,
choose.
that's what
suggesting
we're
that the
saying.
west side of it. The west side,
Yeah.
we're suggesting that we apply Parque Cultural to for everything west of Main Street and Power Trail Park, everything east of Main Street.
Oh,
good.
okay. Sorry, I didn't catch that. Okay. That sounds okay. Where then the dog
Okay.
park? Okay, who cares? All right.
The dog park is in Power Trail Park.
Yeah,
Makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
Okay.
Makes a lot of sense.
So,
And just for transparency, Parque Cultural was not submitted by the public either. It was a modification of Parque Puente Cultural. Just
Yes.
to bring everybody back to where that name came from. So Sunset Park would be similar.
so I'm just gonna ask the question. There's half dozen of us here. If we were to just make, if this group were to make a choice between Hillview and Sunset, which way would we go?
Sunset.
Yeah.
Sunset.
Okay with Sunset.
Oh, Sunset.
They
for
might
sure.
not even need to choose. We could just
I
do it
don't think
now.
I'm a really fair person to gauge it because we've been calling it Hillview Park forever.
Right, I mean, Hillview's in my head, but yeah.
But that's just because that's the subdivision name. So the planners are probably not the right people to ask.
Yeah. So Norma, which one, Hillview, Sunset?
I would do Sunset.
Ethan, Hillview,
Ethan?
Sunset.
I like Sunset, especially because it's in our city logo.
Okay, so I'm not even gonna give them choices. I'm just gonna put forward Hillview Park. I'm just gonna put forward Sunset Park.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so
All
my
right.
summary.
We've made some decisions.
Yeah, so in the resolution for the council, City Hall Park is gonna change to Tatone Park.
Okay, my question on that, I was looking out there the other day, it's already got a name on there.
The play structure has a name.
Yeah, Little Tots play structure, because it was donated by
Lamb.
Weston.
Oh, it's not the park?
No, and actually in the Parks Master Plan, it talks about reserving the opportunity to, the park might be Joe's Park, but you could have features within the park that would be, you would acknowledge either a donation through the name or something along those lines. So it's Tatone Park with the Tiny Tots,
Top
whatever,
playground. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so we've got Tatone Park, we've got Sunset Park, we've got Power Trail Park east of Main Street and Parque Cultural west of Main Street. And then we've got River Ridge 1 is gonna be Parque Los Niños. We've got River Ridge 2 is gonna be Meadowlark Park. And River Ridge 3 is Pajaro Azul Park. If for some reason we end up with 4 parks in River Ridge, we will just have to come back and rename number 4 at some point in the future.
And we know that Bladen was there, so maybe that.
Yeah,
But
we
of
could
course-
pull Bladen back in, or we could pick something else, because Bladen is, we picked it at the last PAC meeting. But yeah, I'm not sure that people have really rallied around it, so. Okay, perfect. Now I know what I will be
Okay.
putting forward to the council. Any
Thank-
questions from the group on that?
I just have a comment. Can we make sure that we really tell the people how we picked the name for the new name for Hillview Park? Because we did say that we were going to use the names that they had suggested. So, but I mean, we all came to the consensus that, yeah, the Sunset is setting there and that would probably be the most appropriate name. So I think just making sure
Yeah,
that.
no, so there'll be 2 things that go to the council. There will be a memo that goes to the council and there will be the resolution to do the naming. And in the memo, I will outline that this was a discussion by PAC. Yep.
Okay. I just don't want people to be mad at us.
Yeah, create a submission real quick.
Okay. All right, so
Thanks,
let's move on
everybody.
to let's move on to our draft master plan. So hopefully y'all read it, and if you didn't, that's totally okay. We're just gonna do an overview of what the plan entails. And first though, I'm going to make a request from the PAC. I need photos. So we can credit you. I'm happy to credit you in the master plan for photos, but these are some photos that we need. So we're asking that you either text them, email them, preferably high quality to Carla or George, who can then pass them on to me. And then I've also sourced some photos off the district website, off the city website, and off the BCDA. So I'll coordinate with Tori separately. She gave us permission to use those photos, but I need some better quality photos. So these are some of the photos we're looking for. So anything that's a drone shot or a bird's eye view, there's lots on the BCDA social media and website. Things like the Sage Center, particularly the play, the highway overpass, railroad, marker 40, other parks, even you're building some multi-family housing. So is there a picture of the common open space that's typical in those housing developments? That's what we're looking for as far as like these bird's eye views. And then other photos, we're really interested in precedent photos. So many people mentioned things like Funland, the shade canopy, sports complex, different types of signage. So if you've got pictures of any of those, if you can send them, because we can't use internet, just internet photos that we've been using throughout the planning process and showing on demonstration boards. We can't publish that in our master plan. So we'd love some of those precedent photos from the local spots that you love. If you've got any pictures of park maintenance being done, I know the district had a city cleanup day, your staff working, any debris on the ground. I've got a couple pictures of heaving pavement, but anything with to do with park maintenance. I'd really love the mural, the new mural. If somebody could send that. There is one again on the BCDA social media page, but the quality is so poor that I can't really use it.
An email that I forwarded.
If there's any park uses, kids playing on the playgrounds, parties, somebody mentioned in the public outreach a piñata tree. So if you've got a picture of piñata, that specifically is a picture I'm looking for. Picnicking, splash pad, dog park, any of those park uses or sports activity, we'd love some of those. Outdoor, indoor programmed activities. I know that there's volleyball tournaments, softball tournaments, soccer tournaments, anything with people in it so it can kind of activate. And specifically, if you look at this picture over these two pictures on the left, we're trying to avoid faces to some degree. I think these are a good demonstration of, we can also obscure faces too if faces are a concern or children are a concern in a picture, but something like that. The OPI soccer field, people playing soccer. I've seen a ton of great pictures, sunset at the marina or at the gazebo. Again, I can't use them because it's not provided from anybody personal. And then also walking on the river trail, people walking, biking, exercising, and again, the Sage Center playground. So if you guys could rally and send us a selection of photos, that would be super appreciated. And then if you want credit or not, we can credit you in the plan. If not, just let us know. So can I get y'all to commit to maybe like 5 photos each, something like that to share? And then Carla and George, Carla's been sending lots, but George, maybe you can put me in touch with whomever handles your social media pages, and maybe I can harvest some photos from the district. Does that sound acceptable?
You bet.
How do I get this
Awesome.
photo request
Okay.
tab? It's on my file from the email.
I resent another one with the updated, sorry, you should have, I didn't print this package either, this PowerPoint, because I had the earlier one printed. So this should be in the updated one. But I'm gonna ask Giselle to resend me that list, and I will send it out to the PAC, and I will send it to staff internally. And then George, maybe you can forward it to staff also, your staff.
And
so
I
yeah,
just
we'll get it
added
out to
this
everybody.
before the presentation. I did just add this page, Carla, so that's probably why it's not in your packet.
Oh, okay.
Because
Yeah, I'm on the news.
I was like, I got to put it all in one place. All right, so that's my plea to y'all. It's just going to make your master plan feel more alive and a little less, a little bit more graphic relief. Okay, I'm going to do a quick overview of what's in the master plan, and then I'm going to pause at the end of it so that you guys can provide your input. For those of you who have been able to look over the draft, if you've got any input or specific questions, and then I'll move on to my specific questions. So chapter 1 is an introduction, why we're undergoing this planning process. What were some of the catalysts to the planning process? There was a transition in the way that the city and district managed and maintained parks. That was one of the catalysts. It discusses the planning process, your support as the PAC. It summarizes engagement, and it also does an overview of relationship to several other past and concurrent planning efforts. It just lists those documents, but the appendix will provide more of a detailed description of those planning documents, as well as how they relate to this plan. Chapter 2 looks at the perspective, what's the history of Boardman, who live, work, and visit Boardman, and what does that mean from a planning perspective? Chapter 3, we look at an overview of each provider. The city manages 11 parks, 50 acres, only 12.7 acres of those are developed. And just to make note that we are counting the 7.4 acre dog park underneath the BPA power lines as developed, knowing that that's going to be installed very quickly or very soon. So you subtract that out, the city manages right now, currently out of their 50 acres, they maintain 5 acres, roughly. The district maintains 4 parks / day use areas. You've got the rec center and then the RV campground. For transparency, we have removed the OPI fields from district assets since it is not publicly owned, though we have been discussing the OPI fields throughout the planning process that you will not find in your master plan document. The district has roughly 132 acres. 88 of those acres are developed as park, and 34 of those acres currently are developed as campground. This chapter discusses the park classification system, which the city will use moving forward when classifying a park. And then it looks at site level inventories as well as a list of programs. Chapter 4 looks more at the broader park system as a whole. So in discussions with staff, 2 public agencies are involved in this master planning process, but there's really one other big one, the Port of Morrow. So the port is discussed in this chapter, and we felt that it was important to nod to the value, the recreational value that the Port of Morrow provides for Boardman residents. So you'll see the port assets integrated throughout the master plan in different ways, but more specifically in this chapter discussing the broader system, it's acknowledged. And that's where you're also going to see the school district, the fields that are used, and the indoor gyms, the OPI soccer field, private HOAs like Tuscany Park, and then as well as some state and federal lands that are either in or very in close proximity to Boardman. Chapter 5 essentially is your community needs assessment. Here you see a little snapshot of what the survey findings were, as well as key themes that came out of that initial public survey and the first public open house, and the discussions with the PAC. What were the big needs for Boardman? At the end of that chapter, interestingly, we included recreation participation patterns. So this is from the market assessment that Bonnie has been working on. The market assessment as its whole will be provided as an appendix part, but it's an interesting section just to show what's happening in Eastern Oregon, what's happening in regionally within certain drive radii, which we discussed at our first PAC meeting, and then what's happening at the state and national level that could influence recreation in Boardman. And then the chapter concludes with what are the gaps? And we're going to talk about that. What are the current gaps that Boardman's facing, and which this park master plan is trying to close some of those gaps. Chapter 6 talks about core values, vision, goals, objectives, and key strategies. We spent a good chunk of our time in past PAC meetings discussing those. Chapter 7 is where you start diving into the recommendations. So chapter 7 looks at the system as a whole. And so this includes these projects listed: trail master plan, the wayfinding signage system, public art and cultural identity master plan, also a list of future amenities requiring siting. And so we'll dwell on that a little bit today. There's several amenities that have not been located in the capital improvement project plan. And so we just want to make sure the PAC is aware of those, and that the master plan emphasizes that these are still part of your 10-year plan, but you got to find a place for it, as well as a park planning checklist with more detail in the appendix. Chapter 8 looks at your site-specific recommendations. And then at the end of Chapter 8, which is we're going to dwell on a little bit today, is your level of service 2035 outlook. So at the end of 2035, how do you compare to your peers? And have you closed most of the gaps or several of the gaps that have been identified through this process? Chapter 9, there's a lot of blank tables in Chapter 9. We're still waiting on associated costs with the projects that have been identified through a couple of our past PAC meetings, as well as the last public open house. We identified and prioritized all the projects. So costs will be added into that and hopefully ready for the deliverable that will go to the Planning Commission October 15th. And we also discussed how those projects were prioritized, and then strategies that you can do to monitor and update the plan to make sure you're accomplishing the goals set out in the plan. Chapter 10 takes a really deep dive into operations and assessment or maintenance of your park system with, again, Bonnie will be providing an appendix part. It's a full operations assessment. This summarizes the findings of that assessment, as well as, hang on, I got a train, hang on one second. It looks at the current operations and maintenance challenges. It looks at your current funding and staffing capacity versus benchmarks or your peers or communities that are similar in size. And then it looks at strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats, and then some best practices to address some of the areas that you need improvement with maintenance and operations at the city and the district level. And then finally, Chapter 11 is what planning policies and strategies are a priority coming out of this plan. And so these are the ones that are listed. At the end of this discussion, we'll provide opportunity for your input, but it analyzes your current park plan dedication standards and recommends that those be improved. We discuss some parkland protection tools. One of the things, for example, is that how do you protect parkland is truly park, so it can't be used for public, so it can't be used and sold for private development in the future. It discusses the development of DC system development charges. It discusses things like sustainable and climate resiliency, e-bikes and micromobility, and then also agreements and risk management. So for facilities that you have partnerships like with OPI Field or the Field House or things like that, how can you strengthen the community use of those assets through agreements and manage the risk that the city might take on by using those facilities? So I'm going to pause. That was a really quick preview through there. Is there any questions or any comments that you all want to discuss before I move into my specific questions? And if it's a no, give me a no.
No.
I want to
Right.
acknowledge the work that both Giselle and Bonnie have done, particularly in this last 6 weeks, pulling together the final draft Parks Master Plan. I sat Tuesday evening and read through it, and I got to the end and I kind of had one word. It was wow. I mean, there's been all of this work that's been going on, and I kept wondering how it would come together. And I was just, it's you know, they keep telling me there's this huge appendix gonna go with it, and it's like, I don't know what more else you could say, because there's so much in the plan itself, but it is incredibly well written. I mean, I have a few notes in it that I will eventually get to them after I read through it a second time, but nothing of significance. I just can't, I really want to acknowledge the work that they've done, and the quality that I think, this is a replacement or an update. It's really a replacement of the Parks Master Plan for the district. But this is a brand new endeavor for the city, and I just think it's gonna give us such a it's gonna give us a phenomenally informed checklist to move forward over the next 10 years. So thank you. That comes from my heart.
Yeah, I
Thanks,
agree with
Carla. That means a
Ella.
lot.
As when I read it, I was like, wow, this is, and it gives a lot of information. And I can't wait to see it when everybody's turned in all their pictures and everything and you can update it. But everything looked great. You explained everything on why we're doing things and why we're here, basically. So yeah, I love it.
Awesome. That's the hope. We wanted to make sure it reflects your voice. And I think the PAC's been exceptional at participating and providing input. So we don't want to stop you there. So for those of you who haven't had a chance to fully review the plan, take the time to see if there's something missing or something doesn't make sense. And I think, like Norma said, the pictures to add the personality of Boardman even more so to the plan. We've got a lot of great pictures already, but I think it'll be a great way to have it reflect your community.
So on this
All
slide,
right.
I can't remember if you, or was it a different, I don't know if it was this one or another one, but it had on there what the amenities were for the outside at Riverside and what was on inside. I don't think all of them were highlighted on the outside, because I did read that they have softball, baseball, track, football, but soccer wasn't in there because they do play
Oh,
different fields on there. I do remember seeing that. I can't remember if it's on this one or the other one that I read, but I do remember that was one
yeah.
of the things that I had to mention today, that one was not, soccer was not put on there. For
Okay,
the,
you're saying at Riverside High School.
yeah, because it was
Okay.
put on the other schools, just not
Okay.
on at the high school. Because there is
That's
indoor
probably
soccer
in
at
chapter
Windy River
4.
and at Sam Boardman.
Okay, I'll add
Yeah.
that. That's exactly what we're looking for. So a complete understanding of your assets in one place. Thank you. Go ahead. Somebody else was going to say something.
I was just gonna say that's probably a chapter 4 item.
Yeah, it is. So
Yeah.
I will go through and add that or confirm that it's there or not there. Great.
Okay, thanks.
So likewise, make notes as you go through this and share them. There's a few specifics I'm going to look at, like programs today. Let's dive into, if there's nothing else, let me pause. Is there anything else at the table, Carla? People I can't see.
Yeah, I would only add that if anybody wants the city to print a copy of the draft plan, we can certainly do that for you. And then if you want to just handwrite notes on pages and bring those back in, we will incorporate those and get them off to Giselle. So again, if you want us to print a copy, that's easy for us to do. Glad to do it.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to move through, you're still informing this plan. I'm going to move through some very specific items that we need your input on. So the first one has to do with park classification. So chapter 2, page 16, if anybody is looking at a printed plan, you'll see a table for park classification. So this is customized to City of Boardman, and it's going to be the way that Boardman, or at least the city, classifies their parks moving forward, and helps to identify, you know, the difference between a pocket park and a neighborhood park. So, for example, what I'm looking for input on is basically the size and the character of these parks. So, in the table here, you'll see that we have Tatone Park, the River Ridge Parks are the ones that I want to focus in on. So, if we move on to this slide, here's the point of discussion. So, currently, as you see with River Ridge and Tuscany Park, the parks that come out of the current planning documents and requirements for park dedication are resulting in more of a pocket park scale, ranging from a half acre to 3/4 of an acre. Tuscany Park is a half acre. So really, according to our classification, these are more of a pocket park versus a neighborhood park. And these types of parks provide basic amenities. You might see some benches, some shade trees, maybe a small play structure. And the purpose of a pocket park is really to serve only a small cluster of homes. Compare that to Zuzu Park. Zuzu Park is just over an acre. With adjacent development, it has the possibility of expanding. And it currently serves 132 homes plus additional homes that will come online with Bailey Park and the development of nearby areas. This park, even what's in the capital improvement plan, it has the opportunity to host diverse amenities beyond just basic play. I think a ball field is on the program for that park. So that's more of a true neighborhood park. So here's the discussion for the PAC. Should River Ridge and similar subdivisions continue with the multiple small scale pocket park approach? Or do you think that the community should move towards fewer but larger neighborhood park scales to serve a broader residential base? That's my question to the PAC. What type of park development would you like the city to move forward with subdivisions and development? Pocket park scale with limited amenities, or more of a truly neighborhood park scale?
Can you go back to the other slide?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm technically on this PAC.
Okay.
But I like the idea of neighborhood park scale. I like when subdivisions give back to the community, with pocket parks. So I'm not saying they should go away. But I think that when there's phased development, much like what we have at River Ridge and those sorts of things, the neighborhood parks, I feel like probably serve more of a purpose because they're easily distinguishable as parks. Right now, if you drive through River Ridge, unless you know it's the park, you don't know it's a park. Even if you put a bench there, one may not understand, that it's a park.
Landscaping and assets added to it will help facilitate, oh, that's a park. I don't disagree.
But they're definitely more usable when they're a little bit larger scale.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Stephanie. I would do a neighborhood park. We have a pocket park here at Tuscany, and it's got a couple benches. There's nothing really, couple trees. No, and I really think what the people who live there want to see is play structures for their kids and somewhere to go hang out as well. Let the kids play and be safe in that area. So yeah, I
I'm
would
sure
agree.
from a maintenance perspective, it's probably a little bit easier to care for one larger park than spread out smaller parks.
So this would be my refinement question. So again, we're comparing, and maybe rather than Zuzu, we should compare because it has infrastructure. We should compare what is City Hall Park, what's right outside the building here, or what's going to be Taton Park, as opposed to Zuzu, because Zuzu doesn't have any amenities yet, but City Hall Park does. Now, City Park, obviously that's a big neighborhood park. That's almost that's a community park. It's 4 acres in size. So think back to if there are 2 River Ridge parks or Tuscany, think about those with a couple of more mature trees and some kind of feature, whether it's a climbing structure,
Water feature.
would you feel differently about those pocket parks if they had amenities in them?
So I feel like for River Ridge, I feel like there should probably be just one main park, a big one with all the structure, and then the other ones should be like pocket ones. Do you guys get that? Do I need so quiet?
So.
What I'm hearing is,
Out of River Ridge.
as a
So I want to
Oh.
clarify, out of River Ridge, you're saying we should have gotten something that is a neighborhood park as well as the pocket parks?
Yeah, I feel like there should be one neighborhood park, and then the other two could possibly be pocket parks with maybe, because you know how they were talking about having like a toddler park and like an older kids'
Mhm.
park.
Yeah.
hmm
I think that's where my brain's kind of going to, is that type of explanation, like a pocket park, but also a small play structure along with it.
Yeah, and we had talked about that a little bit because there's a potential for 3 or 4 parks within the River Ridge. So the thought of consolidating it into one larger park, I think the city has has begun discussions with the developer. Do you want to share anything, Carla, or is it too early?
No, we've talked to the developer. We're gonna work with them on a modification to their development. And we're gonna combine the 2 parks to the south, on the south end into one. We're probably not gonna get a 1 + 1 = 2. We're probably gonna get a 1 + 1 = something less than 2. Because we're also asking them to lose a developable lot for a future street connection. So, it's a matter of give and take with the developer. So we will get one larger park, but it probably won't be as large as the 2 parks independently, if I'm making sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't know that.
So
All
the
right.
size will be, the third park size will still be within the pocket park neighborhood. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit later in our presentation here, that there's still a gap in South Boardman for a truly community serving park. But just to conclude on at least the pocket park versus the neighborhood park, what I'm hearing is there's a preference for more of a larger neighborhood serving park with a few more amenities than a pocket park for future development, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay.
Say that each side
So-
of it, you know, we have a good city park that's a neighborhood park. But that's on the north side, and I really think on the south side, there should be another large size neighborhood park.
Well, that's actually a community
Yeah.
park. So we've got pocket parks, neighborhood
Yeah.
parks, and community parks. So city park is a
So yeah, let's
community
look at that.
park.
Let's look at
Okay,
that for a
well, what
second.
yeah.
So here's
Yeah,
the
I
contrast
know.
between
One
a
on each
neighbor.
side.
Yeah. So a neighborhood park, a pocket park is just, I mean, the Tuskegee Park is a perfect example of a pocket park. It's just tiny. It's got seating, some tables, some trees, and a little green space. That's about as much as you're going to get. Maybe it's just a sports court. In some urban areas, it's just a basketball court. It's just big enough for something. A neighborhood park is a little bit bigger. It provides a little bit more of your park features. Maybe you have something like a basketball court on it, a play structure, and the other things. Once you expand larger to a neighborhood park or a community park, you're looking at something more like the day use park, or you're looking at city park. They have event space, a pavilion, they've got sports fields, sports structures, play, sports courts, parking, restrooms. You start seeing that at more of a community level park. And so what I want to bring to your attention here is that City Park is about 4 acres. You see it here on the left. City Hall Park here on the right has been classified as a community park. However, the size of it is roughly about 1 acre. It's been reduced to most of the frontage on, is that Kincaid? I think that's Kincaid. Yeah. And so the city is planning an expansion to their City Hall building. And so that existing basketball court will be relocated to this green space surrounded in red on this map. So the actual scale of City Hall Park or Tatone Park is now more closer to more of a neighborhood park. And so the question for the PAC is this still considered, or do you think this park is considered community serving? Are there people coming from the community to this park, or is it really more of a neighborhood park? It is in size. Is it more of a neighborhood park though in use, in your opinion?
Well, people from all over the community, all over, come to that.
Yeah, the
Up to
city.
this park
city
right up
park
here.
is-
Mhm, I
Yeah,
agree.
it's not just, no, it's just not from this neighborhood. And I would say that's true for all of our parks.
Cause I walk over
not
there with
just-
my kids.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
people from all over
That's
come.
what I wanted to confirm.
Yeah,
So our classification will stay as a community park, but with the caveat that the size of it is really not conducive for developing community serving amenities. And so what I want to ask is what's missing from this park, do you think, to make it more community serving? What would make it more community serving to fulfill its role as a community park? It's got restrooms,
trying-
parking, sports court.
So where are they relocating the
They-
basketball court?
So it's currently right out here
Uh,
and it's gonna be somewhere, it's probably gonna be,
Right there, where she's drawing it, right there.
I think that's a terrible idea.
well, the
Somewhere.
basketball court's gotta go.
Yeah, I think it's a terrible idea. So I see a lot of people using that area right there. There's a gentleman that comes out and it looks like he works on training his dogs.
he could use the
A
back.
lot of, a lot of folks stop and they'll park over near the building. It seems like traveling people will stop there and they kind of like it because it's a truly open area. So that's just kind of my 2 cents, just because I stare at that park all day long.
Yeah, I think it's a
It's
great
like a
idea,
separation from where the
actually.
kids are playing.
I think it's a good idea because it's right off the street. Anybody can come play and it's more visible. Right now where the basketball court is at, you can't even see it. A lot of people don't use it unless they know it's there. But I like where it's at, but it is I mean, it's got that slope down, so there I mean you can fix that easily, but I don't know. I think it's a great idea, but I feel like we need more shaded areas and a little bit more seating. Like a,
Okay.
I don't know. Can't do it right now.
Are you guys getting the echo?
I hear an echo. Yeah, I hear the
Yeah.
echo.
Yeah, we turned the volume up earlier and then our screen just did something wonky and I'm gonna try turning the volume down and see if that helps.
Was this part of the expansion potentially to the west?
Yeah, so most people are aware, but the city has purchased the property to the west of City Hall. And that purchase has been made and there are plans underway to build a municipal justice building of sorts that would be multi-story, would house the PD and then potential other.
So what is the opportunity that the park could be expanded along the roadway there?
There is opportunity, but until we know the design of the property that we're expanding onto for the PD, I didn't want to make a commitment.
Yeah, so I think that if that was a comment that maybe as they remove that basketball court, it would be great to see that park actually get a little bit larger.
I don't disagree, but again, until I know what the expansion plans are and what the requirements are gonna be.
I know, but I think that as the PAC, I think we should say it. If that's what we want to see, I think we say it.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at. So, echo.
It's kind of a funky park because there's such a slope right there. Really, the only truly usable space is where the playground exists. Otherwise, it is just kind of a hangout slope. There's not really.
Or also behind
Mhm.
the field house. That is it open.
It gets flat again up there by the field house again,
Yeah,
but everything between the field house and the play structure is kind of a slope.
yeah.
Yeah.
I see it serving a purpose for folks. Like I said, I see people out there just kind of hanging out. It's like a leisure area where they just want to hang out, so.
It needs a few more trees, it needs some,
And those sorts of things are what I see there.
Okay, so I think that the plan can make a recommendation. That if it's feasible, expansion is recommended.
So
So
also, I'd like to see one of those trees that has like the seating around it.
That has what?
Seating
There's a
like it's
horrible
like a
accident.
bed around the tree. I saw that in Pasco. And it
Has
really,
the benches that go around it,
Yeah.
sitting outward. That'd be
Yeah.
Cool.
that would be cool. We need a big tree. It'll be a small tree at first. The other thing that I think would be a really cool amenity there and could be supported because a city hall is adjacent and is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, would either be a large chess or checkerboard with large pieces, or even a couple of permanent tables with chairs that could have a checkerboard on top of them. And people could either bring their own, or when we're open, come in and check those kinds of things out. Equally, I think the whole artistic ping pong table. And again, people could bring their own equipment, their own paddles and balls, or when City Hall is open, they could come in and check them out and check them back in. So I think it would be neat to add some kind of that kind of amenity. And the chess and checkerboard is kind of in my mind coming from that comment about things that serve seniors. And I think we may find it grow as our population grows. Maybe there would be people who would want to, take a walk, come to a park, play a game of checkers, and then
Go have lunch at Senior Center.
I love that. Yeah.
right, we are near the senior center too. So yeah, I mean, I wonder if there couldn't be those kinds of things to contemplate in that space.
Yeah, Pioneer Park and Walla Walla does that really well. All those ping pong tables, all these little different activities that you can do that they're stationary, they're always there, you can bring your own stuff. I like that.
I haven't been to Pioneer Park in ages. You've given me a reason to go Walla Walla. Thank you.
And the wine, don't forget the wine.
Well, yeah, okay.
Okay. So there's a really bad echo that we're hearing virtually.
We
We're
got
Do
it
you guys
too.
hear
We're
it
hearing
on
it
your
here
end?
too, so we'll mute unless we're talking.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so the recommendation here will be to expansion to meet more of the neighborhood park or community park, scale and amenity types, if feasible. So we'll add that to the plan. Next, I want to present the tables in your plan for programs and get your input. Is there any programs that were missed? And specifically in red, if you can help me understand who is the owner or partner. For example, the fishing tournaments, does the BCBA run those or coordinate those? Teen Summer, Marble Mania, is there any other programs that are not covered on this list? Let's give it about 2 minutes and then we'll move on.
I think the bass, right, George, is the bass fishing tournament magazine that coordinates that fishing
Who
tournament.
is it that coordinates it?
I think it's the Bass Fishing Magazine or something like that. Bass, BASS. Right, George? Remember, you guys are muted, so we can't hear you guys.
Yeah, and see you.
They just started a 5K this year, that it sounds like it's gonna be an annual event for Parks and Rec.
We got multiple 5Ks that are gonna come out. So, on the tournaments, the fishing tournaments, they're run by their own organizations.
Bass
So
Pro.
like the Bass Anglers magazine runs a big one here. We have Idaho Bass Anglers. They had their tournament just a couple weeks ago. There's multiple tournaments that happen.
So maybe you should just say various.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's.
Okay,
All
so
right,
I think
and then maybe,
one where I saw where it says high school gym and fields. So it does have the adults, men, volleyball tournaments, wrestling, youth track, youth baseball. They also do the mini cheer.
okay,
But was that just for youth?
They do
but, this is in
cheerleading.
another section of the report, but
Oh,
this is
I
fine,
know
I'll
it-
add it later. Yep.
Okay, and they have they've been doing yearly a youth soccer camp. For the men's soccer. They've been doing in the summer, they've been doing a youth soccer camp.
And that's outside on the field.
Yeah,
Right. Well, if there's anything else, George, Norma, maybe Tori can look at these pages and see if it's missing any information.
I know there's also jujitsu side, I think one of the elementary schools.
I hear what she said.
I didn't hear
catch
that.
the word you said.
Jujitsu.
That's mangled, but yeah, jujitsu. Okay, I'll look it up. Okay.
What's the goal of this? Just to put in a packet, what kind of things go on in Boardman?
Yeah, this is really like, what are the programs? So again, city doesn't run any of those. They're either district, BCDA, other organizations, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yep.
like golf tournaments.
Oh, yeah, like is that takes place at the golf course. We do reference the golf course in here, so. Not sure do we want to capture the golf tournaments that happen out of the golf course?
Well, this
Question.
is rec disc golf.
Yeah, but that's on the disc course. I'm talking about the golf course outside of town.
Yeah, where do we have that on?
I'm
Right
not
down
sure
here.
we have.
Oh, I thought you were putting
Disc golf is here.
disc golf.
Yeah, we don't own the golf course, so I don't think it's referenced anywhere else, but it is a.
Yeah, well, the Port of Morrow assets are identified in the chapter that is the other programs, and the golf course is identified there. So I guess the question is, if we're gonna talk about programming, we should probably at least have some indication that on that Port of Morrow golf course, there all are golf tournaments that happen.
Yeah.
But again, we're not running them. I don't think anybody here in the room is running them. That would be a Port of Morrow
Right.
function.
Right.
It could be a chamber or a BCDA function. I don't know who actually runs the Ryan Neal tournament.
That's a chamber.
I think it's chamber.
That's the chamber, and the Frostbite tournament, is the Frostbite now the Ryan Neal? Okay, so they're the same.
And there's the women's club one,
The women's club.
which is run the women's club.
Yeah, the community
Okay.
women's.
Okay.
Football at the elementary schools, because they played in Umatilla.
Yeah, but they practice. Yeah. I'll get this.
I didn't hear
all
that.
straight.
I was just
All right,
commenting the
George.
flag football.
This is on
They
your list.
played in Umatilla, so.
Yeah, I see.
Okay, thank you. And then I've already sent this to Tori one time. But I'll send it to her again, just have her review it. All right, on to my next discussion point. Can you mute yourselves again? I'm sorry. Okay, awesome. All right, so this is just to acknowledge that the city's doing really well with your park supply. Currently, there's 112 acres of developed and publicly owned land. That is equivalent to about 16 acres per 1,000 resident using a weighted service population. And so currently the population of Boardman is 5,749. But we looked at it and we weighted it with the assumption that there's a lot of temporary workforce coming and actually residing in the city. And so that's where the 6,890 figure comes from. So using that weighted service population, that still equates to about 16 acres per 1,000 residents. And it goes up to 19.5 per 1,000 residents with just the straight population. So when you're looking at benchmarks for cities smaller than 20,000, you're right in the range that they have for your peers of similarly sized communities range from 12.9 to 22 acres per 1,000 residents. So you, as far as land supply, are right in that range and more towards the upper end of that range. So I think that's a really good plus. Another big plus is that you have a lot more diverse park assets than a community of your size and your peers. In that you've got a splash pad, a rec center, a disc golf, dog park, fitness circuit. Those are just a few of the assets when you're comparing Boardman to your peers that you excel above and beyond your as far as park supply, your peers. So I just want to point that out. This is something that came out of this master plan that is a really big plus for Boardman. The maps and exhibits that are shown over here on the right. So you'll see throughout the master plan that we have only documented city and district assets on this upper map. The darker blue and then the lighter blue radius is showing the walk radius to those parks. So much of Boardman, though, is not served by a park. So we've added in on the second exhibit below, we've added in the Port of Morrow recreational facilities. So anything that's truly public serving. So the Sage Center Playground is on here, Veterans Park, Marker 40. There's this open space along the waterfront, and you can see that the service radius or the area within 5 to a 10-minute walk, this is kind of what those parks serve in your community. So again, we're going to look at the gap areas that still remain with your current park system. And major barriers, you'll notice that all of these radii are cut off by the interstate, the railroad. These are barriers that people can't currently cross over safely. So those kind of the potential for the walk radii for like your waterfront parks is really cut off because you don't have safe pedestrian access to that park because of the railroad. But overall, your land supply is really good. This slide is talking about that gap area that I was talking about. So we looked at those walk radii, and anything within the UGB is hatched in red here. So your gap areas or areas of Boardman that are not served by a park within a 5 to 10 minute walk radius you'll see a major gap in Northeast Boardman and in South Boardman. And what's interesting, you overlay on that neighborhoods that are higher density. So this red triangle up here, that's your multifamily housing. Down here is an RV park. You've got mobile home parks, and then several other denser neighborhoods that also fall within those gap areas. So I think that's important to note that these are the system gaps that you're starting with right now. And it's, and look in this box here on the right, that talks about more specifically some of those gaps. So currently there are, with the Front Street soccer field going away, there's no soccer field within your system that's truly publicly owned. You've only got about 2.3 miles of developed trail, which is well below national benchmarks for your peers. You've got your playgrounds meet benchmarks in quantity, but the fact that they're not inclusive, they don't meet ADA or universal access. They don't have cover the gamut for toddler play. Other things that are missing: shade and comfort, gathering spaces, your camping capacity. Some of these notes are based on observations from staff. Your camping capacity or campground service is there's not a true benchmark for that that's available. It's a plus for a city your size. However, those are at capacity because of tourism and the workforce housing. They are used mostly for workforce housing. And also, there's not really any of your park system right now that's truly accessible or meets ADA standards through the major park features. And then with the decommissioning of the skate park, you're going to have a really big gap in youth recreation. So I know most of these things are things you already know, but that's what your plan is highlighting, is this is currently the system gaps right now that you have in your system. Jumping into the recommendations recommendations, some of things that you have not seen to try to more equitably face some or satisfy some of these gaps is that we've had discussions with city staff about putting a recommendation into the master plan for a Northeast Boardman neighborhood park. So with all the Front Street park amenities going away, it leaves a really big gap in Northeast Boardman. And so the city has currently acquired this little yellow parcel right here. It's not little, it's large. They're also looking at another property to acquire. So one of the recommendations that you'll see that's new is a recommendation for a neighborhood serving park of at least 1 acre, or whatever our classification minimum size is, but about 1 acre for a community serving park to be sited in Northeast Boardman. So this does not give you a community serving park, but I feel like it gives you a really good, it's a recommendation that helps alleviate that gap in Northeast Boardman. So is there any comments from the PAC? Are you in agreement with this new recommendation that we're proposing to put in the Chapter 8?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Especially if
Awesome.
it's going to move. Did you guys hear
Go
that?
ahead. No.
Sorry, we were muted. I was just saying that property is what the city has recently acquired from Susie Fredrickson. There's also an already owned city parcel there as well that is zoned residential as well. And then we have property that we may acquire for another street extension in there. And there could be, so it could be on the Susie Fredrickson property. There is another parcel it could also be on. But the city's in full support of this particular recommendation being in the plan.
Great. And the thought is that there might still be a gap for a community serving
Talk to
park.
me a little bit more about the Oregon Potato Field Park.
I
What
think
do you,
she said
what,
it was
in what way?
owned by city.
But what was the plan on that?
The
So
OPI
currently
field?
we have removed that from the plan since it's not a district or city-owned public asset. It's still listed as a private asset in Chapter 4.
Yeah.
But from the input from the PAC and the community, investing in parks that aren't publicly owned is not a priority.
Okay.
All right, so the other gap area was in South Boardman. I'm gonna ask you to mute me one more time, or mute yourselves one more time. Great, thank you. So we had talked earlier that River Ridge will receive a 3rd or a 4th park. The intent is to, or at least the recommendation here is to approach the developer, which has happened, to consolidate into 1 park. However, the anticipated size of that park is only about 3/4 of an acre to 1 acre. So there still leaves a gap for a truly community serving park in South Boardman. So I think we've already discussed that we're in support of consolidation as a PAC, but moving forward, the plan will acknowledge that there still is a gap in South Boardman and that this 10-year plan does not accommodate for a community serving park in South Boardman, but it needs to be at least noted as a continued gap that needs to be satisfied in the future. So if, for example, land becomes available, the city can target maybe purchasing property in the next 10 years. Any comments?
Okay, we're talking a little bit about Sunset Park, trying to shift the name now in my head. And what would its status be when developed? So it's currently identified as a city asset, but it's undeveloped.
Mhm.
So when it becomes developed, it truly does become a community park.
Okay.
It meets that highest
Correct.
standard. It's not a pocket park, it's not a neighborhood park, it's a community park.
Cool.
But at this point, it is only,
Only just a land.
it's just a,
Yeah, when she was noting that South didn't have room for any community park, that's where I was just like, well, what about what we're talking about? But that makes split sense. Thank you for the context.
but I think you raise a good point. I think we need to make sure that it actually references that as a future community park.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And what I should have shown was a map. There is a map at the end of chapter 8, which shows once fully developed, Hillview Park. Oh, I wish I could mute you. Let's see. Okay, good. You're muted. Thank you. Sorry, it's so distracting to hear my echo. I should just get over it. So still, even with Hillview Park being developed as a community park, there's still a gap in South Boardman. So I just want to acknowledge that gap exists, and that it's still needed, minimally a neighborhood or a community serving park in South Boardman. And that should be kind of in the back of the mind of the city to purchase property or to designate as they can either grow the UGB, because the city's limited right now. They can't do park development outside of city limits. So as city limits expand, or the UGB expands, the city should target land for a truly community serving park in South Boardman. The other recommendation that is slightly different from what you saw was with the BPA easement. So currently the city is targeting a minimum 30-foot easement identified from Scobo to Laurel Lane. So that green line that you see in the mapping represents that 30-foot easement. The red outline shaped polygons are land that is currently owned by the city. The blue line down here is what is going to be the dog park. The city will acquire additional land with the dedication of like the Chaparral subdivision, I think the Bailey Park subdivision. So additional land will be acquired adjacent to that BPA or that 30-foot easement. But the plan right now is to extend that easement from Laurel Lane to Scobo, a minimum 30-foot to get your trail width in. Any comments? That's new from what you saw last time.
I'm curious on you said the blue is where the dog park is?
Yeah.
Are we moving it again or?
I
That's
gotta,
definitely not where it's at.
I gotta get closer to her map.
Yeah, I
can't
have
see
a
it
question
from
about the
where I'm
dog park.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna get it blown up here.
Yeah,
that
you're a
not
little
it, Carla?
too far. Yeah, you're too far east.
Is it over here?
Yeah, it's right about there.
Okay.
No,
we will
Ethan,
make
we're
that
not spending
correction.
any more money. We're not moving it again.
Okay. That's
Yeah, I was like,
Sorry.
wait, that's not where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that
This
blue
is
is
exactly why we're
part
doing
of,
this.
yeah, the blue one you have on there is the Bailey Park potential acquisition.
Okay. Apologies. Thank you. All right, we'll make sure that's correct. All right. So here are the park features that were identified through this process. I'm going to request to be muted one more time. Awesome. Here's the future park amenities requiring siting. So the bike skills park, the pump track, the skate park, pickleball courts, soccer fields. So this bullet here discusses that right now, to again be comparable to your peers, you need a minimum of at least 2 fields needed immediately. But within the next 10 years, you need to expand to 4 to kind of keep up with the benchmark. So the recommendation is to expand at least 2 to 4 fields over the next 10 years. And then as far as diamond fields, baseball, softball, you currently meet benchmarks, but within the next 10 years, 2 additional fields will be needed to, again, maintain the service level that is equivalent to what your peer communities provide. So those have not found a home yet. I think with Hillview Park, there's potential for the soccer and the baseball as well as maybe some of these others, but all of these will need a place in the master plan. And then this slide just talks about the growth for the city and the district. So of note, I just want to point out that the city is going from about 14 acres developed to 73 in the next 10 years. So that is a lot of growth. You're going to grow to almost 2 miles of trails. We talked about some of these features that are missing. They haven't been placed, but there's potential to go from 0 or 2 to net some. And then for the district, and also playgrounds 2 to 5 and sports courts 2 to 3. For the district, you're actually going down in your park acreage, with the reason being that more land is going to be dedicated to your campground. So the actual park assets will decrease, but you will grow in your campground facilities, going from 1 to 3 zones, 2 to 5 restrooms. Potentially, there's the possibility of adding a skate park. You'll do some dock reconfiguration. You're adding a new ADA accessible pier. You're going to go from 1 to 2 boat launches, including a new accessible launch. You're going to have a new boat storage building. And then you're going to add a dog park to one of your campgrounds, plus a rec center expansion. So I think this demonstrates there's a lot of plans in Boardman over the next 10 years.
Don't
Any
forget
comments?
you guys are
You
muted.
don't have, yeah.
We're not saying anything. We're just kind of taking in the work.
Perfect. And then these final 2 slides just talk about what are the successes of this plan and what will be the ongoing gaps. And we've talked about some of them already, but you're still going to maintain roughly 15 to 17 acres per 1,000 residents, which is a really good plus. And that's developing mostly parkland that you already have. You can see from this map figure on the left, your service area, once you add in all the parks, the BPA power line easement, the development of River Ridge Parks, once they become truly community serving and have the amenities that make them truly a park, you can see that most of Boardman is now within your service area, within a 5 to 10 minute walk. However, there still is a gap in South Boardman, and there still is a gap in Northeast. But if you acquire and develop that parcel near the Sage Center, that gap really gets minimized. And then in South Boardman, you still have access to these small pocket parks. in River Ridge, so there is a park within walking distance of most of South Boardman. However, it's not truly a neighborhood or a community serving park. So that's really the gap that's there. So those are your successes, and then remaining deficiencies. Even at the end of 10 years, your length of trails is going to be towards the low end of the benchmarks. Benchmarks or cities of your size have about 4 to 10 miles of trails. So you're within that range. It's, let's see. Can you hear me? My earpod just died. You're within that range, certainly, but at the low end. We talked about the need for 2 to 4 soccer fields, the need for 2 diamond fields. Benchmarks, you currently don't have a tennis court, but so that's an obvious gap. And then the other 2 that we talked about more at length at the bottom here in red is the need for a community serving park in South Boardman and a community serving park in Northeast Boardman. So you've come a long way at the end of 10 years if you build all of this to closing the gaps in Boardman and really providing a really rich park system for your community.
Just got one question for you real quick.
Yeah.
She said Northeast Boardman Parks, where it's kind of blank up there, just it's past the Sage Center. Yeah, kind of in that area up to the right, right?
Yep. Yep. So currently there's only the
Okay.
Sage Center playground that's right there. So while that playground is within a 5 to 10 minute walk, it doesn't provide a full park experience. So there is still really a gap in this area without that addition of a park, a neighborhood park, minimally up here in
Gotcha.
Northeast Boardman.
Okay, I was gonna say is like to the right of the Sage Center, everything's industrial, so it doesn't seem like we really need a park over there.
True, yes, and that is a good point.
But you also have
I
that
think that this-
neighborhood where you guys just purchased the land on Boardman
But-
Avenue.
Right, but that's by the Sage Center.
Yeah, true.
So this is a little misleading in that this particular park or the Sage Center, that's what this radius is
Sorry,
taking up.
Yeah, I just unmuted, just Ethan, for your benefit, we did have a conversation at the project management team level, kind of staff level discussion about the industrial zoning to the west, or excuse me, to the east, and then the residential zoning to the west. But there are some, even with that the Sage Center doesn't quite facilitate getting even to the neighborhood that's there. So the houses that are closer to Columbia Drive are not being serviced. So we're gonna have to be strategic in where we identify the location of that Northeast neighborhood park. So it's gonna be an interesting discussion about how we meet that need, given the walking component.
Interesting. Okay.
Great. So finally, I think we can skip these last 2 slides right here. We're about at time. Well, I want to leave some time for final comments. But the last few chapters talk about implementation and funding strategies. George, we're going to have to connect on your staffing, some of the staffing assumptions that we made. So let's try to reconnect after this meeting. This is more specifically a question to you. Is our assumptions for staffing correct? And then, let's see. This is kind of where I want to conclude our discussion. So the last chapter of your plan really talks about policy that the city should consider to protect park assets, and also to promote growth and park development over the course of the next 10 years. So The first one here, parkland dedication. Currently, your dedication standards in your comprehensive plan are pretty small. So the recommendation here is to increase that so that you can get larger neighborhood serving parks, as the PAC was mentioning earlier, would be preferred over a pocket park size. The thought of establishing a parkland fund within the city, establishing minimum parkland standards, like, for example, it can't be, if you're gonna dedicate land to the city, it can't be all wetland and unusable. And so just making that very clear in your standards that what's a usable parkland that can be dedicated to the city so it can be built out as a park. Requiring public ownership or deed restrictions. For example, Hillview Park came to the city with a county deed restriction for public use. So that's protected that land from private development. So likewise, adopting a similar strategy for future park dedication would be advised coming out of this plan. Creating an SDC framework, and then possibly even adopting a park design manual so that as you develop your parks, that they are consistent in character and things like amenities and character. So that's the parkland dedication policy, what might show up in your comprehensive plan and some of your planning documents. But more specifically, the parkland protection tools. We're showing here several park protection ideas. One is formal dedication by city council. So any land that's intended for public recreation is dedicated by ordinance or resolution. So it can't just simply be sold for private development. Things like the BPA corridor, establishing a permanent legal easement through that land so that the land's dedicated. The easement makes it legal and protects it. Deed restrictions, like we talked about already. Interestingly, when we look at your zoning map, your zoning designation, currently only City Hall is designated as park open space. But most of the other, and I think a little bit on the waterfront, might be designated as park open space. So the recommendation here is that anything that becomes park should be designated in your comprehensive plan and zone designation as park open space is another layer of protection. And then when it comes to subdivision agreements, creating agreements with your subdivision land dedication so that it's protected long term. And then prior to, or since this has been published for draft, we've talked internally with staff at the city. The idea of appointing a park advisory committee could be another parkland protection tool. So I think this is the one I really want to focus on. Is there any opinions in regards to parkland protection, what's being proposed in the master plan, or is there any additions that you see to protect your parkland moving forward?
So I think we've worked really hard with city stuff. Some of this might be also applicable to the district, but I don't know, maybe the district wants to contemplate some things around parkland protection. I know you have issues with the lease and I don't know if that can ever change. But again, I wouldn't know what to put there, George, but maybe you and your board might want to contemplate that before this gets to a final draft, if there's anything you'd want to add to those protection policies.
I might want to add, let me see. I don't know if that would fall under parkland protection tools though. I guess my recommendation would be just to also see what's mostly used, and when we are designing, consider that into the plans when we're designing a new park. Like what type of space is being used the most? if that makes sense.
That might be able to be put in like the planning checklist, that it's an appendice part, but it's discussed in a high level.
Okay.
Just,
We had
I
something,
think that would
we
be
had
a good.
something on this, we had something on this side. You were muted when you,
Are you asking for that so that we don't duplicate parks? So we're getting some sort of diversity in our parks that are being planned, or?
Norma.
Oh, was that for me? I'm sorry. What was your question?
I was saying, are you asking for what's like mostly used so that it's not duplicated in future parks? So that there's some like park diversity per se in our town, or? What was the purpose? I was just trying to follow that.
The purpose of that is so basically what goes to my mind already right away, of course, you guys know I'm a soccer player and soccer coach and anything soccer. But I see a lot of like we want to build all these softball and baseball, but it's not a year-round sport. It's not being played as much. I'm looking more towards what are we successful in when we get to the high school level, and what should we be providing for our youth to keep being successful. So that's kind of where I'm thinking, like, okay, if we're gonna add more, if we're gonna have more parks, let's make sure that the space is being used and it's not just sitting there. Does that kind of explain what I
I
meant?
understand what you're saying. I think it was Taylor, that's who asked that question?
Yeah.
I'm understanding what you're saying. Did that answer your question?
Yep.
Awesome.
can I be the devil's advocate to that? So I would say people do what's available to them. And if you don't make a diamond available, they're never gonna learn to play softball or baseball. So if you choose not to have diamonds, you'll never have a successful baseball or softball team at the high school level. So this is coming from a mom whose son played baseball. Believe me, we tried soccer, it didn't work. So I guess I would challenge that if the focus is soccer, and say that if your focus is soccer, that's all you're gonna get. If you want diversity, then you've gotta have diverse opportunity. So I guess I would push back on that. And
I know what you mean, Carla, but I get what you mean. My daughter played softball. My son played baseball. So
Okay.
I get what you mean, but I feel like it was in one of the slides where it does say that a couple of soccer fields are needed like ASAP because we don't have any, but there are already like diamond fields. So what I'm saying is if we're going to develop, I feel like we should try to make that space that we're developing to something that they're actually using. And like, I know a few months ago, I know that skate park, somebody wanted to pull that out and I said no, because what if there are kids that want to skate and they just don't have anywhere to skate right now, except for on the sidewalks or whatever we have here. But there are kids that, and we don't want to pull that out because we can't have skaters. We can have a lot of kids that start skating because that is available to them. So I guess that's what I mean.
noted.
Okay.
Back to you, Giselle. If you're talking, we're not hearing you.
I think it's 7:30. She might have left.
Yeah, no, she's still there. I could see her. She's talking, but we cannot hear her.
Copy. It was
She commented earlier about her, earbuds being at 5%. I wonder if we've lost her audio.
No, because her
I'm gonna
earbuds
find
died
her
because
earbuds
my
died
audio
'cause
went
my
different.
went
When her
different.
earbuds died, I could hardly hear her.
Can you drop a
I
comment?
was
saying that
muted.
we can't-
She was muted.
Oh, she was muted. Okay.
All I was gonna say is that I think that the plan looks at the importance of quality when it comes to ball fields. You have the existing numbers to meet benchmarks right now, but quality is lacking. So it's important to improve quality of your softball fields, whereas there is a clear deficit in soccer fields. So meeting a minimum benchmark would be a priority. Quality is not even in the picture yet because you don't provide that yet. So I think that the plan is substantiating the need that you're saying, Norma, for soccer. And I think also the diversity, I think that's also, I think underlined, both of them are underlined in the plan as being equally important.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
These other policies here, they're worth noting. The city is working towards system development charges. They've contracted with a consultant-led process. They'll be undertaking that process using this master plan as a foundation to developing those SDCs. SDCs will really help with future park improvements. So as parks are developed, it'll help to improve them. Currently, the city doesn't have any sustainability goals. And so that would be a policy that would be recommended here. You like green grass, which is important to the community, but adopting things like no-mow or drought tolerant plantings, things like that could help with some sustainability concerns. So since that's on a broad scale across the state, across the country, those are topics that you're hearing about, things that are sustainable and climate resilient. And then agreements and risk management, we talked about formalizing agreements. You've got use of schools, use of OPI field, access to the field house. So formalizing some sort of agreement that's not only going to provide community access and secure that access, but it will also protect the city and the district. Who's going to maintain something, who's going to improve something, what type of insurance is required, it protects the city and the district. Those agreements, those legal agreements will protect both agencies when using shared use situations. So those are the other policies, and that kind of concludes the master plan. So thank you all for being here. I know we're right on the dot, of course. I'm happy to stick around and discuss any finer points with you, with anybody who wants to, just let me know.
Thank you.
So the Zoom call still has some time on it, but it is 7:30. So I absolutely understand this concludes the time that was scheduled. So I would just encourage everybody who read the plan. If you want us to print you a copy, we're happy to do that. Get comments to myself or to George. We'll get them to Giselle. I found it to be a really good read, so I hope you all do as well. Just a clarification on the timeline. The city is going to use this plan as the primary guidance document to inform goal 8 in our comprehensive plan update. Goal 8 is the recreation goal. So for that to be adopted in that planning framework, it has to be noticed to the Department of Land Conservation and Development. We're targeting that for mid-October. which would put it in front of the planning commission in mid-November and in front of the city council. Either the first meeting in December, the meeting in December or the meeting in January. So our hope is to have it adopted, if not by the end of the year, then certainly by the end of January. Somewhere in that time frame, we also need to have it adopted by the rec district board as well. So we're gonna wanna coordinate that adoption timing with them. What I think I will say is that in order to make sure that we're both adopting the same plan, we probably want to coordinate that end time, and getting comments in and any final changes, probably after the planning commission hearing. So PAC members, you will probably be noticed of that planning commission public hearing, just so that we can have an opportunity for any final PAC input as well as planning commission input. Hopefully from that, we can come out of that with a final document that can go in its final form to both the city council and the district board. Because the last thing we need to do is adopt something that has different components to it. That doesn't work for a collaborative plan. So that's my thinking in my head. George was not in agreement. So I think we're good there. And we just need to reserve enough budget on the contractor side to help us with any of those final edits that are going to come in post planning commission and then a final version.
I have a question, Carla. So when do you plan on sending that to the planning commission and the Parks and Rec board?
So it'll go to the planning commission first.
Okay.
PAC will be noticed of that meeting as well, or be informed of it. That's going to be in mid-November. I can't remember the day of the planning commission meeting. I want to say November 20th. I think that's the right date. So any final changes would happen at that point, and then the district board and the city council will get that in December and or January.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
'Cause I know
Steph,
that-
just confirm it. Planning commission is the 20th of November.
Okay, and George, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys are not meeting in December, correct?
Correct.
That is correct. It'll be the January meeting.
Okay.
at the end of the month.
Ooh, January, end of the month. You meet November, end of the month? What day, November, end of the month?
It's every fourth Tuesday of the month.
That's Thanksgiving week. Then,
Meeting will be at one. Fifth. I don't think they can give you time.
from planning commission to there, yeah.
I still think January would be our.
And so you're targeting, what, last Tuesday? Last Thursday?
The 27th.
The 27th. So maybe what we'll do is do planning commission in either November or December, but hopefully November. And then maybe just put it in front of the city council on January 6th and the board on the 27th of January, do them both in January. Yeah. That'll give us a little opportunity to refine it between the planning commission meeting and the board meetings and board and council meetings in January. So, okay. We have a tentative schedule.
When they meet January council.
Council would be January 6th. The other option we could consider would be a joint council district meeting in January. We can cross that bridge when we get closer, but it's just, I'll throw that out as a potential option. So. Yep, okay, I think we have a tentative schedule.
Great, great.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, Bonnie, any final questions or comments from you before we,
Nope, I'm totally good.
no,
Wanted to verify those staff people. as, well, you and Jeff, like, it, but we want to verify it or making some assumptions about the numbers. The org chart.
Okay, okay, you're kind of breaking up, but I think George picked up the gist of your inquiry, so perfect.
Yeah, and I think Jessel gets, yeah, it's the echo that's going on. Sorry. Okay, thanks, folks.
All right, so anything else? If not, we'll go ahead and stop the recording and sign off.
No, I'm
Giselle,
good.
how about, get, boy, we're gonna meet.
Do we want to coordinate that meeting post recording?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and conclude the meeting. I gotta figure out which one of these buttons to push to stop the recording. Hold on, I'll get there.